I'm Matt Foreman, the Exec Director for Customer Services. So I'm going to start with our housing management team. So the context for this is really important because we know from listening to customers, having a good on-the-ground housing management service is really important. And they are a really real focal point for customers to try and get that right. Now, over the last 14 months, we've implemented a whole new service around our neighbourhood housing management and increased the resources on that front line by 30%, so that on average, each neighbourhood housing need should have 550 homes to look after and support, as well as that surrounding neighbourhood. Now, that's been a huge amount of change within L&Q. So thank you for bearing with us whilst we embed that change, and hopefully we're starting to see some of the green shoots coming out of those improvements. I'd like to start first of all with allocation of homes. It's really important, given the housing pressures, that we allocate homes as quickly as possible. And what we can see is that we are getting quicker at repairing homes and getting them back to customers so that we can get more customers in homes that they need. Satisfaction with that move process is currently at 76%, and we've got a target to try and increase that to 80% this year. So we know there are some good areas where we work with customers in terms of moves, but some communication issues that we know we are focused on to improve there. In terms of the condition of the home when customers move into that, I think we've set ourselves a very challenging target for this, and we're currently at 78%. Now, that probably reflects the fact that we've had to make some changes to the standards that we let houses to customers in. Given some of the financial challenges that everybody's facing, we've had to look at that and to try and make sure that we deliver the standard that we've set out. But we are monitoring that very closely because we know that that's an issue that certainly from our involved resident service boards and our resident committees is something we are keeping a very close eye on. In terms of some of the other housing services, I'm going to go to the average days to complete queries. So as I mentioned earlier, we increased our resources on the front line in neighbourhoods by about 30% over the past 12 months. And this is really important because we used to take on average 18 days to get back to customers with their queries. We're currently down to 8.4. Now, that's still too long. I know from a customer's perspective, if I have a query and I've got to wait for more than a week, that's not a great service. However, as we've got through that backlog of inquiries that we had when we launched the service, you can see we've made a significant improvement from where we were. And over the next 12 months, we're looking to get that to under 5 days as a real area of focus. And as part of that, those local neighbourhood teams with our housing specialism teams, which includes housing support officers and some mental health expertise within that to support residents, has supported 209 residents in very difficult circumstances to maintain their tenancy and keep their home. So we're very proud of that, because we know that's important. Two other services that we know are really important for customers. First one, antisocial behaviour. We know that there are some difficult circumstances that customers live in, and what you need and rely on from us is to work with you and other agencies to tackle antisocial behaviour. Now, our satisfaction with antisocial behaviour and how we deal with that is currently at 34%. Now, that's a low satisfaction rating, but in context, this time last year that was 19%. So you can see from the services we are putting in, it is getting better, and we expect that to continually improve and move forward. And the same with estate services. We've put some new resources into estate services to particularly try and manage the contracts that we've got better. Now, in some areas, we know that's working very well, and we know, having listened to the residents committees and the resident service board, in some areas that is not working as well as it needs to be. Our satisfaction has improved and has gone up to 32%, but it's an area of focus again that we are looking to strive to try and get that to 40% by the end of the year. And two other areas that are really important: customer service and income collection. So the first part I want to talk about is our customer service centre. They deal with close to 1 million calls per year coming into our customer service centre. So they do a fabulous job of trying to answer customers' queries right at the first point of contact. And currently we answer 4 out of 5 calls right at the first point of contact, because we know that's important. to try and do that, and we're hitting our target in that area. And satisfaction overall with the contact centre currently lies at 80.1%. Now that's lower than what we're aiming for this year. It's still relatively high, but we know that is linked to how we can deal with repair calls better. So working closely with our colleagues in property services, we're looking at how can we improve our repair calls so that they are answering more of those customers to a higher satisfaction. The next part I want to talk about is our revenue services or income collection. Now, we're very, very conscious in terms of the cost of living crisis. It's very difficult for customers and very challenging. And our team do a fantastic job at trying to support customers whilst also making sure that we get the rent and other income payments that are due so that we can then deliver the whole range of services that you rely on us to deliver. Now, in terms of our income services, considering the challenge that we've got there, an 87% satisfaction rate is something we're very proud of. We think that's very good. And as part of that, we also have the financial support assistance within our revenue service, which last year helped 1,265 residents to access financial advice to sustain their home. Finally, in terms of complaints management, it's an area that I think we will hold our hands up as part of L&Q and say it has not been as good as it should be. We've had a real focus on that for the last 6 to 8 months. We know that we have got too many outstanding complaints and we are not answering them quickly enough for customers. Now, the good news is that the number of complaints that we have coming in is reducing. So we used to have 17 complaints on average for every 1,000 homes, and that's now reduced down to 13 complaints for every 1,000 homes, but it's still too many. So we have a whole project that is looking at how do we deal with the backlog of the complaints that we've got, and we've put an extra £500,000 worth of staff and resources into that team to try and make sure we could get back to customers quicker. We've changed our procedures around that part of the service. We've looked at our compensation policy, which we know was old and outdated, and we've updated that. And we've really taken the learnings from our reviews and from the investigation, working with the Housing Ombudsman to put a whole targeted focus on dealing with complaints much better than we have done in the past. And currently we've got 75% of our new complaints resolved at the first stage within 10 days. And that's the target date that we are aiming for. We're aiming by the end of this year for that to be up to 90% as we get through that backlog. But it's something I know is important to customers and something that we've got a huge focus on to improve. Now, another service that we know is vital in the current cost of living crisis is our Pound Advice. Now, our Pound Advice is there to provide benefits and debt advice to any customer of L&Q and to try and support you so we can maximise any of your income that you may be due and support you with advice about how to manage income and expenditure during what we know is some very, very challenging and difficult times. Now, which again is a service we are really proud of. Last year, that service supported customers to access £10.4 million in benefit and debt advice straight back into customers' pockets to help them to pay your household bills and to sustain your home. And already this year, we've already generated £4.2 million benefit for customers through that team. Now, alongside that, we also have a real focus on how can we work with other partners that work with L&Q to generate employment opportunities. And last year we generated and succeeded in getting 535 customers into employment. Now, we know for each of those individual customers that is a significant change and a significant benefit in terms of opportunities. And already this year we've gained another further 119 employment posts for our customers, something that we're very proud of and we know is important for you. And in terms of supporting customers to sustain their home, this is really important. We know that the customers that we support in their home have a whole range of vulnerabilities that we need to be aware of. We need to be adapting to and supporting customers in difficult circumstances. And we have a team of floating support officers who are dedicated to working with customers who have a range of different challenges to help them to manage their tenancy and support them through that pathway. Now, last year we supported 564 customers through some extremely challenging circumstances, and walked them through and supported them and developed their life skills to be able to sustain their homes. And already we've done a further 209 this year. Now, the great news is, from the customers we work with, approximately 90% of those successfully go on to manage and sustain their home, which for every individual customer is a huge benefit, and it prevents homelessness and further pressures both for that individual and for the broader good of society. So it's something we are really proud of.